Okay, so let's get started. Just want to make sure that everything is recorded. Okay, good. Anyway, guys, so I'll tell you what inspired this subject today. Is next week Billy and I are going to be doing a presentation for the final class of April, and it's going to be on deliverability issues. Deliverability, he's going to be covering a lot of the AMA controllable elements, and I'm going to be covering the two items that we're going to be featured here today. Now, everyone is familiar with Optin Manager. Maybe not familiar with all the different options available and nor how to set it up, but really how to position it. When you're talking to people about deliverability, especially when you're bringing new customers into Growth Suite or people using it for the first time, this, the two things that you have to advise them of is email validity and consent. Now, those two things are completely separate when you're doing an email scrubbing. Most people understand the consent part because that's been, core to our Optin Manager and previously Act for Castle. And we've built a very effective and popular tool for harvesting those consents where we send out, and I'll do a demo of that. We send out emails and we harvest those consents that automatically can be downloaded and updated to our database. That's the first part. What people are less familiar with is the email verification part. Now, what you've likely seen in our database is this field, email status. An email status shows accept all, invalid, unknown, and valid. So accept all basically means a wildcard. So if you put something like anything at keystroke.ca and we've configured it to accept that wildcard, then literally any email that you go to verify against something at keystroke.ca is going to be considered an accept all. Invalid, obviously, is there's no recognized email and no supported email. Unknown, there wasn't the ability to ping the server and confirm the status of a particular email. And then valid is self-evident. Okay, it's been confirmed as valid and active. So how does this work? Now, we have an integration, and this was an integration that actually Chad from SwiftPage asked us to build, where it can actually run against BrightVerify, brightverify.com. There's many different email verification systems, but BrightVerify is the one that we set it up against. And basically what you do is you get an API key from them, you plug it in there, and then it charges you on a per hit basis. So per hit being every single email that you check. My recollection is that it's somewhere around half a cent per verification. So you can check thousands of email addresses without really a prohibitive cost. Okay. So when you're talking to a customer about the initial pass through, you've got to verify, you've got to look at the list and say, okay, before I send it out once, I'm going to at least determine which ones are valid. So this integration will do that check against the BrightVerify system, and then our integration will then update the database to reflect this. Okay, and I'm going to show you the mechanics of this, but I just wanted to discuss the high level operations of it. Okay, and then once that first pass is gone through, then you've got to say, okay, of the X number of emails that I've got listed as valid, how many have I received consent from? And that's going to update this field where it's accepted or denied. So the point that you're going to make to customers is that if you are going to be targeting people that first have a confirmed email address and second have provided consent, you're going to have an extremely high success rate, at least from a deliverability standpoint. Return on investment depends obviously on what you're selling and the value of it, but in terms of actually hitting your intended target, you're going to have very, very good success. Now, just kind of as a justification, okay, and Billy's going to be covering a little bit this next week. When you are working with an ESP, email service provider, any kind of consistent bounce rate that is above 5% can run the risk of the account being suspended. And SwiftPage is not an exception to this. If you have a couple of campaigns where the bounce rate is in excess of that, and you are there, you get flagged, and the SwiftPage will send out an email. Funny enough, it used to be Billy that would send out some of those emails. They would say, we've recognized that you're above it, an acceptable bounce rate. Please go back and groom your list a little bit, to get under that threshold of 5%. If it's consistently, if they don't cease and desist and they keep emailing it, and the bounce rate continues above 5%, that account can be either suspended or canceled. Now, let me be clear. If someone has spent $948 or $2,400 or $5,000 on an account, that money is not refundable. So all of that money, all of those marketing plans, everything that they've spent will be forfeit, because SwiftPage has gone through the progressive discipline, escalating their warnings until the point that we're canceled, and these guys haven't done any of their due diligence. It's the due diligence and the mechanics that we're going to be talking about today and how to execute that. So with that said, kind of just establishing the use case and the justification for it, because you guys are going to be on the front line explaining all of this. Let's talk about how we set it up. First thing is to understand it comes in two different versions. Optin Manager for web and regular Optin Manager, which most people are familiar with. There's a couple of differences between the two, and I'm going to go through those as we go through the setup. Now, the first thing is, where do we get it? We go to ftp.actforwork.com. All of our downloads are here. Okay, so you just scroll down, and then you're going to see Optin Manager web. Okay, Optin Manager, click here, and you run the install. Because it is a SDK product, you have to have Act closed. If you're installing the Optin Manager for web, you not only don't have to have Act closed, but you don't even have to have Act installed, because it's meant to run against the API, meaning that you don't even have to have Act installed. Okay, so we go through that process, and it will install Act, or install the Optin Manager, and you will get a menu option here. So let's just say that we've gone through that, we've launched our Act, and we see Optin Manager here. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go down to the settings, because nothing will work until we set up the settings. Now, the key here, the first tab says General Settings, okay? And you say, well, I got a key. Now, when you launch Act, it's going to give you an activation key. That is not the key that you put in here. The activation key will register the software, okay? But because this is kind of an account-based thing, you can actually install it on several machines. This is what is key, okay? So it's asking you to set this up. If this is the first time you've set it up, you've got to click on create an account, okay? I have already set it up, so I'm going to click on customize mine and bring mine over, okay? Now, mine's already set up, but if you have not set it up, okay, then you're going to register as a new user, okay, and that will bring you into the screen that I'm about to show you, okay? Now, here's where you get your key. So you're going to copy this, and go back here, and just paste that in there. Run a quick validation, and you're good to go, okay? Remember, this is just, you've paid for the software, okay? This is just establishing the connection to our online account, so it knows what to link it to, okay? Let's go over here. Okay, so then let's look at some of the customizations. Okay, you've got, you put in your company name, you put in your URL. Obviously, we don't want to be promoting Optin Manager within that experience, within the user interface. So, we give the option for the customers to upload this file, okay? Upload logos so their branding is prevalent, and then you just put in a simple message. Now, keep in mind that this is going to be the page that they're going to, the end user is going to see when they click on the, please provide us consent one way or the other. So please use the following buttons to confirm or deny email permissions, okay? And that, and then count. That's changing passwords. Okay, I'm going to actually go in here. I'm going to exit out, and let's see what the new login here. Okay, I'm going to say okay, password complexity. Okay. Okay, registration successful. Turn to home page. Okay, log in. Okay, so now I go. What's the little things that trip me up? Oh, good grief. Okay, oh, it's got to do the email confirmation. Second. So do remind people that it's going to be to confirm your account. So I got this email over here, confirm the account. Okay, now I can log in. Okay, edit your workpage. Okay, so here's what it would look like. You go through here and you just do your basic settings, okay, and not unlike what you saw before. Okay, now let's go back to Act. And as I said, you just grab your key here, just click on copy, and you go back into Act, and you can paste it in there. Click on validate and continue. Okay. Now I'm going to click on the field settings now. So you have to set the field where the data is going to get updated. So as I said, we've got the contact permission here. It's labeled Castle. That's just an old layout here, but that's what our contact permission is. If you're working, if one hasn't been created, then you've got the ability to just click on create and it will create it. Obviously, if you're working with an RDB, you can't do that. You're going to have to do it on the master, so plan accordingly. And then you set what the words will be in terms of accepted or denied, okay? The next one is the email settings. So what you'll do is you'll put in all your standard email settings, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that the history types are recorded, and there's some other features that will that you'll need. I believe there's some bounce verifications as well. Okay, just do a quick check. It's successful. Okay, I'm not going to review this because everyone knows how to configure their own email settings. Now, then you've got email delivery. So, there's options that you guys have seen before. We can delay a certain number of seconds between each delivery, which obviously will increase the outbound delivery success. And then if you want to configure that even further, you can say in batch sizes, send them out in batches of say 25 and then delay between each batch. So we put a little recommendation here of set the batch at 25 and 30 seconds between each, okay? Now the last piece is the Bright Verify integration that I discussed earlier, okay? For the Bright Verify integration, you're gonna set the field, and I indicated that it's email status, and I demonstrated what those field values were, okay? And again, you've got the same option of creating the field, and then is the getting the API key. I'm not gonna go through that because we already have an API key. I'm just going to grab this off what Austin sent me earlier. Okay, put in ours and then save. Okay, now that is in the Windows version. Now let's look at the web version. Okay, now in the web version, the first thing we're gonna have to do is set in, we're all familiar with this in terms of Act for Mail and other things. We put in our API, we put in our database name, we put in our login credentials. Click on login, okay. So long. Okay, get it successful. Okay, and then I click on save. Now, when you first set this up, when you first install this from that directory I showed you earlier, and you've completed this, you need to click on File and Exit and then relaunch it. And the reason is that if you don't, those API settings will not stick, and it will literally prompt you to set those settings with each and every single command that you run. Okay, so now that that's done, okay, we see here, click on cancel. Now let's go into the different options. So the first thing is we go down to settings. Okay, now it's going to show you the standard stuff. Okay, the Optin Manager. So the Optin Manager is the settings that we had before. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to put in what I had for Kenneth KQC. Okay, and then I'm going to put in password. Okay, and then I'm going to put in enough. Again. Okay. Copy. Okay, I'm going to put that in here. Okay, validate. Yep, that appears to be valid. And again, you're going through the exact same thing in terms of the field settings. Okay. Okay, so it's not allowing me to select that. Same thing here with the settings. I'm actually going to bug out. This is why I had lost some most of these things. There we are. Okay. Refresh connection. Okay. I'll go back to settings. Okay. So yeah, I just had to do a restart because it was acting a little buggy. Okay, so then here's my contact permissions. Here's my email, all my email settings. Here's my history. What do I want to record the history as? And then here's my my Bright Verify email address status field. Here I put in the API key that I got from Bright Verify, and then I put do not check for updates. Okay. Now that is the setup. Now the big difference between the web and the Windows is is how easily you can control the targets. Okay, when you're sending from within Windows versus web. Like for instance, even if you are logged into Act for Web and you do a lookup, it doesn't allow you to go against that lookup. Okay, there's just not that API connection against lookups. Unlike when you are working with Optin Manager within the program, it can of course work with this because it's running inside the framework. So let's see what we've got here. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to do a quick group check here. Okay, and I'm going to use my standard keystroke user group. Okay, and let's do a quick lookup. Okay, and now I'm going to say Optin Manager send email. Okay, now this particular text here is saved as a text file, but for the most part, it's pretty easy to edit. By default, the email subject line will be blank. You just type in, I put in just please allow us to contact you, and then it will insert please accept here, or please click here to accept or deny. If you wish to edit your signature, you put that in here. If you wish to edit the template, you click here, it will open up the text file and you can put whatever you want in there, okay? Keep it short because people aren't gonna wanna read and comply, okay? And then once you've made your edits, just do a quick refresh preview and it will go against the, in this case, the first contact and show you what the email is going to do. Now, when you are ready to send, you click on send. You don't have to worry about selecting in advance who it's going to go to. Watch what happens. So now you've got the current contact, contact lookup or all contacts. Goes without saying that we're not going to use all contacts in most cases. Okay, I'm going to select current lookup. Everyone get on here, and it's going to say 63 contacts. Do you want to continue? And 0 went out. Okay, so the only way that the 0 would go out is if every single one of them had the email consent field already populated. Okay, so I will check that, but in all likelihood, we've already updated that particular distribution list. So let's send an email. In this case, we're going to send it to one person. Okay, so that one went out, and you saw the little progress bar that was down here. Okay, Jakai then. Okay, yeah, I can see that accepted was here. Now, what will happen is he is going to get a link. Now, everyone on this call understands what a contact GUID is. If you receive that email, what happens is that link, okay, to click here, accept or deny, that link is basically a link to our server, and it has the contact GUID appended to it. Now, because it's a hyperlink, people don't see the full name, the full ugly name with the contact GUID in it. But behind that, when you click on it, it will bring you to a personalized link that is only for that contact. So when they then say, okay, and what I'll do is I'll do my record. Let's kind of show you what that looks like. Actually clear this. Okay, and we'll say send email. Send contact. Okay, so one email was sent. Here. And this is what it looks like. Okay, very standard email. You don't see anything big and ugly unless you brush across it. And then when you brush across it, you can actually see the fully qualified name there, okay, with the contact GUID at the end of it. So I click on it, and now I'm going to say, this is all. You can see that the branding was put in here as we customize it. Put in the company name. Now in this case, obviously both are the same, so I can choose to drop that off. And then please use the following button. I'm going to say yes. Okay. Now, what has happened is that particular response, it doesn't write directly to the database. That response has been recorded, on the server. Okay. And then what you do is you go in here and you say update contacts. Now, as you can see, this is empty. Update contacts. One contact was updated. As you can see, it's updated to accepted. That's how smoothly it works. It's very, very nice, and it works very, very well. So imagine if there was like 100 or 500 or 1,000 people that responded to one of your reach out campaigns. It would literally update them that quickly. Okay, so that's just how powerful that is. Okay, let's see if there's any questions here. Okay, Steve McCallish has corrected me that it's 1/10 of a cent per email. Thank you. That's actually closer to what I remember. And that, so if you do the math on that, then basically every 10 customers is costing you a penny. Okay, and you know, it's very, very easy to, you know, kind of justify, well, if 100 customers is costing me $1, that's not so bad. Okay, so you know, you could very, very quickly escalate the math where it's really quite easy to justify. Okay, now let's see what that would look like within the Optin Manager for web. Okay, click on email blasts. I'm going to send in emails. I get the same kind of screen, okay, except I don't have work with the lookups because this is an API connection that can't connect with the lookups. So I've got selected contacts. Now, that may seem like it's the same thing as a lookup, but it isn't. I'll demonstrate that in a second. Okay, contacts with blank values in the email permission field. So it can actually pull from the API all the contacts that don't have any information in the email permission field. Okay? We all know that groups are accessible via the API. So we can connect to that, and that way you can go to the selected group, much like you would with AMA, okay, in terms of marketing. And then there's all. But let's take a look at selected contacts because this is where it gets the most difference. So now what you've got is you've got a, you know, a list here of all the contacts, and you don't want to be sifting through, say, 250,000 in our case. So you're just going to put in, you know, keystroke.ca, search, and then you can bring over the people that you want here. Okay. Not sure who Butthead is, but I've got some theories. Steve, Gene, okay. And then that's my list. Okay. Emails will be sent out to the following people. Boom, emails were sent successfully. Okay, now what's the beauty of this, of having this particular Optin Manager? Well, if you've got someone that is hosted, okay, and they're hosted and they're they do not have Act installed locally, okay. Actually, Steve corrected me again. It is actually a penny per, okay. I mean, it's obviously more, but again, we're not talking big, it's a one-time cost, so it's not a huge amount when you're running against your database, okay? But as you can see, the contact permission field already contains data, skipping contact, and it skipped. So what it did is it noticed that Sylvia, Steve, and Jean had already had that field populated, so we didn't need to update it, so it skipped all three. So it's got some that built-in error checking when it goes out. But you know, getting back to my point earlier, is that with this Act for Outlook web, or Optin Manager web, I should say, you don't even need Act installed, so you can run it off of, you know, something hosted by SwiftPage, something hosted by RTG or us, and you know, it will connect directly to it. So for people that are running off of Act for Web, they don't have it installed, or like in my case, I've got this little Surface Go that literally cannot support Act. You install it on Act and it'll basically turn it into a brick. So I'm able to run my marketing, I'm able to run my Act for Mail and my Optin Manager web totally off my little Surface Go with 8 gigs of RAM, and it works perfectly. And I don't have Act installed. So you know, there's a really, really good use case where you're dealing with people that need to scrub a list that may be hosted. Okay, now let's get into the Bright verification. Okay, we're going to go into verify using Bright Verify. Okay, so in this case, we're going to say selected contact. Okay, I'm going to say selected contact, and I'm going to say it again. Let's just do quickly. Okay, and move that over. Okay, this is verifying my email list. Okay, and then it's finished. And then what would happen is, okay, you can see here, it's going from ACT, contains contact record, processing Ken quickly, warning, contact already contains the value, and email status, and it's skipping. Okay, now what would happen is if it didn't, let's actually go through this process again, and I'm going to actually, okay, let me just go here. Because I'm a little concerned because it's going to pull from the API if I make changes. Okay, so here's my brother. His email status, okay, is blank. Let's run this again. Okay, selected contacts. Okay, processing contact. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that will then update the master database. Not this one, so let me go to over here. Okay. Here, web screen. And now you can see that it's set as valid. Okay, so it automatically updated that. We knew it was valid. My brother, I would hope that his email address, but it updated the master database. In this case, if you're working with the Windows version, it's going to update the database that you're working with. Anytime that you're working with, and the same thing with AMA, anything that time you're working with the API, then obviously it's going to have to be against the database. It will update the database that the API is connected. Okay, and that is about it. I can just go quickly through some of the additional options that exist. Like, let's say that someone doesn't have, you sent them an email and they say, I never got it. Can you just send me a link that I can give you authorization? You can click on Optin Manager, generate unique link, and it will copy that link to the clipboard, and then you just reply to the email with a paste of that. Okay. Update contacts, as I showed you, that will go in and retrieve the information from the server, and that is about it. And here's where the Bright Verify is within the Windows client. Okay, now let me just see if I can actually show you the current contact. When contacts were updated. Here. Okay. Okay. Okay, so it's not sure why I'm not getting. Oh, hold on. Let me do the update contacts. Okay, you can see the little dialog box here. And it will just show you a progress bar as it continues through there. Don't know how long it's going to take, but I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions. Questions? Okay, well, we're about 36 minutes into the lesson. If there are no questions, then I will wrap it up. But thank you very much, and I hope that that gives you kind of a demonstration over how to set up, how to, when you obviously I didn't go through the registration of the program because you guys all understand how to register any of our products, but this one is a little bit different because you've got to link the software to an online account. That process is pretty straightforward. You don't have to pay for the online account, but you get your activation key pasted in there, and then the online account and your subscription to Optin Manager is then connected. Okay. So I'm going to end the lesson if there is no additional questions. Thank you very much, and a great day.